I'd like to call the Monday, May 13th board meeting to order. Roll call.
Mrs. Nazario.
Here.
Mr. Ferguson.
Here.
Dr. Ballard.
Here.
Mrs. Washington.
Here.
Mr. Sturgill.
Here.
Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Larkmore Ross, or Michael.
All right. Tonight we have the pleasure of welcoming students from Larkmore Elementary School. For those of you that don't know, it is a school that's committed to academic excellence and led tonight by Assistant Principal Ms. Smith. She's going to introduce her two students here that are going to speak to us a little bit after the pledge.
I like a microphone. So I just want to say Mr. Scott had the audacity to say, are we still a place committed to academic excellence? Doesn't he know where Lockmore is? So, but I say that because when I was in Columbus last week and we introduced ourselves, Mr. Scott, I said that I am Ms. Smith from Larkmore School, a place committed to academic excellence from Lorain City Schools. And I said that when we were in Columbus last week. So anyway, I have had the pleasure of knowing this family for now 4 years. Mr. Michael Dyer, Ms. Ryan Jones with her 3 children, Theron Dyer, but it started with Delaney. So Delaney, come on up. This isn't just the Larkmore students. We're extending it because Delaney was once a Larkmore student. So Delaney Dyer, who attends Longfellow Middle School, along with her brother Theron Dyer, who is a 5th grader at Larkmore, along with Clara Blaine, who is a 3rd grader at Larkmore. And their proud parents are Michael Dyer and Ryan Jones. And you guys are going to lead us in the pledge this morning like you do at Larkmore. So, and what do we say with everyone? Can we please?
You don't know it? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
Nice job.
Again, so Lorain is about families and communities. Larkmore is also about families and communities. And we wanted to extend this to all of the Dyer children that have attended Larkmore so that this was a family affair at the board meeting tonight. So I'm going to introduce you to Delaney. Thank you, Delaney.
Hello. My name is Delaney Dyer, and I'm 13 years old. I'm 7th grade at Longfellow Middle School. I have so many good memories, and I have at my time at Larkmore Elementary, from winning Student of the Year to singing a solo of a portion from Lean On Me. Looking back, I realized how much Larkmore has shaped me into the young woman I am today. The values of kindness, hard work, perseverance practiced at Larkmore have stayed with me and helped me to achieve my goals. I am proud to say that I am a member of Student Council, and I have maintained a high honor roll throughout middle school. I want to thank the teachers and staff at Larkmore who have supported me during my time in elementary. Their guidance and encouragement still makes a difference in my life today. I gained a network of what feels like aunties and extended family. This is something that I am grateful for. As I get older, I look back at my time at Larkmore and appreciate it with nostalgia. Nice.
Oh,
Well done.
My name is Theron Dyer. I am 11 years old and I'm in 5th grade. I love Larkmore because of the amazing teachers and good friends I've made. Being part of Student Council last year, as well as PE Club and Lego Club, has taught me the importance of teamwork and perseverance. My teachers are always encouraged me to try my best and to believe in myself. The entire staff in school celebrated after my 8U football team won the after my 8U football team, the Lorain Steelmen won the national championship in 2021. That was an unforgettable memory. I feel lucky to be a part of such a supportive community, and I am grateful for the opportunities I have had at Larkmore Elementary. To tell you the truth, I am kind of sad to graduate in a couple weeks and move on to Longfellow Middle School.
Hello, my name is Clara Blaine Dyer. I am 8 years old and in 3rd grade. I love Larkmore because it's like a big family. My teachers are so nice and they help me learn new things every day. I have been a part of Girl Scouts for 3 years. I look forward to meetings every week because we get to make fun projects and crafts. I have made a lot of good friends in Girl Scouts. Hopefully next year I will get a chance to go to Girl Scout camp like my big sister did a couple years ago. I feel happy and safe at Larkmore. My favorite class is dance. I love music and learning lots of new dances. Larkmore staff makes me feel special, and I am so happy to be here.
And we are so appreciative of the Dyer family, their commitment to this families, the success in the school as well. And that's exemplified by Clara being number 4 through Larkmore, correct? Number 4? She's the 4th child? Third child, sorry. Okay, 3rd one through Larkmore. So thank you, Ryan, and thank you, Michael, for entrusting Larkmore with your children. So thank you, board, for allowing us the opportunity to present the Dyer family to you this morning. We truly appreciate you. And I just want to add a special thank you, because I did it in an email, but I want to do it in front of everyone. Thank you, Mr. Scott. Thank you, Dr. Graham and Mr. May, for coming on Friday to our Queens for a Day event. Your help and support was tremendous in helping us to have a successful event with our mothers. Mrs. Jones was there. And so we thank you so much for your support of the work that we're doing at Larkmore. Thank you, everyone, and have a good evening.
And Chris, it was an absolutely amazing event. I think you said 216 parents RSVP'd. I'm not sure how many showed up, but it was a packed house. And again, always a classy event. Appreciate your leadership and Chantel's. To the family, great kids, clearly representing Larkmore. Good kids don't turn out that way by accident. So to get home, hug your folks and let them know how much you appreciate what they do for you. So, Dyers and Jones, nice to meet you. Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank you for the great message the 3 of you sent about Larkmore Elementary School. It's so nice to hear positive things. I'd like to bottle that and get it out in the public, because we appreciate that.
And don't worry, Longfellow's great too. Yeah, you'll be all right.
No, it is.
We do all the kids at
Want to
once?
do all the kids at once.
Is that right? Okay.
We do art and then robotics.
The art award. You know it.
78 slides today, Jay.
Oh, a little one.
And I'm gonna do it and stutter a lot. Take my time, draw.
That's like half of what you normally do.
A little one.
All right, we've got more excellence to recognize. And so next I want to call Ms. Zeta Smith, our visual art department chair, up. We had a student win, I think, really excellent recognition, and so she'll talk a bit about the recognition and visual art as a whole.
Hi, so I'm Zeta Smith. I'm the high school ceramics teacher and the visual art district coordinator. So back in March for our senior service day, a lot of our seniors and all the visual art teachers from the high school went to work with the Firefish Arts Group downtown, led by the artistic director, Joan Perch, in collaboration with the Lorain Historical Society and the Black River Stamp Club, to design a memorial postmark and cachet depicting the 1924 tornado disaster. The postmark would then be sold during their commemoration event. During our all-city art show in April, Ms. Perch was serving as one of our judges and happened upon a mixed media watercolor showing a tornado moving across Lake Erie. She was very excited to find this piece and immediately asked about the artist, a 10th grade student from Miss Vian's Drawing and Painting 1 class named Alexandra Rikovic. Alexandra had painted the piece during a lesson called Rainy Day Watercolors. The lesson was designed to focus on the transparent quality of watercolor paint, how artists can convey emotion by showing various weather events, and as a platform to incorporate other drawing elements such as gel pen or colored pencil. Here's what Miss Vian had to say about Alexandra's piece. She says, "When I first saw Allie's piece in class, I just loved it. I asked her why she chose to do a storm rather than say just a rainy day or a rainbow. Allie responded that she thought a storm would just be more fun to paint and that it was a chance for her to show real action. Ironically, Miss Vian also said to Allie at the time, it's not often that you see such a fun spirit in the face of a potential disaster. The painting really shows your personality. The fact that later Joan Perch would notice that very quality of the artwork is just fantastic. Alexandra's art piece will be used to honor the 100th anniversary of the tornado disaster in Lorain, and for the use of her image of her artwork, she will be receiving a $100 honorarium.
Nice.
And also, this year's All City Art Show in April just showed how much our programs are progressing. We had 4 judges this year. Previous years, we only had 2. We just had way too much artwork for 2 judges to do all of it. We had over 650 pieces across the entire district.
That's nice.
Many of our judges told us it took them, the 2 judges we had return from last year, it took them just as long to judge half of the artwork this year as it did to judge all of it last year, because it was just so hard for them to choose. And they said everything from year to year has been just fabulous. So the art show was a huge success. We have, at the high school level where I am, we have advanced students that are now working on much longer projects. We have a couple drawing and painting students that I know have been working on large-scale paintings for over a month. So we're starting to see more professional habits developing in our students, and the program is just awesome. And it's getting better every year. So I'm really excited about where we're going.
So are we.
Yeah, Allie, come on up. And while Allie's coming up, we also just found out that at the Cleveland Hopkins International Art Show, do you want to talk about this?
We have 21 pieces of art being represented by Lorain at the art show. When's the opening?
Next Thursday.
The opening reception would be
And
next
that's out of 50 that were chosen from all of Northern
Wow,
Ohio.
that's amazing. She's another. She's the sweetest.
Absolutely beautiful. And again, to mention or to emphasize the fact that our performing arts and visual arts have not been, band has been around for a while, but outside of that, this is pretty new. So again, I want to thank our teachers for your leadership and getting a very strong, high-quality program running from the very beginning. Just great things are happening. So thank you for that. Picture?
We got one more.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I want to invite Denise Farney up,
Oh, that's
coach
right.
of our robotics team. They've got some big news as
There's
well.
some group in the back.
So Denise will talk about the incredible success of our robotics program overall and 2 teams in specifically.
All right, I'm so excited that we're here. Can you guys stand up and come up here and I can talk all about you guys? I'm gonna brag. All right, so this is our 2nd year of having high school. So that is a great honor in that. And it's the 2nd year and it's our 1st year of making it to the JRT National Championship at Worlds. So the difference in the National Championship and just our regular Worlds is, and they have the opportunity to do that, is during the season, we compete at the high school level all the way through. They do not compete at just JRTC competitions. They compete at the high school. But them winning awards and having cadets, so please raise your hands if you are a cadet through. So they are our cadets that actually are in the program here at LHS with Major Marshall. And that offered them the opportunity also to go the route of the JRTC National Championship. They were invited, the girls team, 8609N here, they were invited based on winning awards. During the season, they won 4 awards and trophies, and 8609Z, Aries team, they won based on their skill score and got an invitation to go down to Dallas to compete. So let's talk about the greatness about being able to go and compete. The Army was so nice and helped out with sending the cadets and their flights down there and their lunches. And we want to thank the Italian-American veterans. They helped provide funding for the lunches for everybody for dinners and for the entire team, and also for their activities and their fun. So, and Ridge Tool helped out with the hotels and getting us there for the coaches and the non-cadets. So it's a whole team aspect of getting us to Worlds. And we can say that we had a blast, and I'll let them explain about all the different parts, but I really need to thank my coaches, Mr. Reinhardt over there and Mrs. Hanson, who's hiding over there, but Mrs. Hanson, because it takes, literally, and Major Marshall, he went also with us, it takes an army to literally move us around at Worlds, because we had both of these teams competed in different divisions. So one was competing at one time while the other was competing at a different area at a different time. And I was in the pits dealing with everybody coming by and seeing us. So it was an experience. They got to volunteer while they were down there. They got to see sights and everything. But I'm going to let them talk to you a lot more about this. But I will tell you, robotics, the team here, is a long season. We started in August. And we just literally finished in May. And some of them won't leave, meaning all of them, won't leave. And they're still slowly tearing apart the robot. And we just got the new elements for the next game. And they're already trying to figure out what they're going to do. So who would like to start first real quick? All right, go for it.
Hello, I'm Cadet Villanueva Josleris. I am a 10th grader. I'm 16 years old, and it's my first time actually going down to Worlds. It was an amazing experience. I got to meet so many different people down there from Asia, from Hawaii, from all over the place, and it was honestly so great. Scouting in itself, we started like a month before we even went down there to see all of the teams and what they could do and how good they were and how well we were to compete with them and how successful we would be. But going down there and scouting in person, it was a whole different experience. We got a bunch of bracelets. Bracelets, we got pins, we got a bunch of necklaces, and just a lot of stuff. And we were so welcomed by all the different teams down there.
Thank you.
It was honestly amazing. Go ahead.
That's kind of cool.
These were the items that we were passing out to the teams to remind them that we were available to alliance with them and just to give them a little memory of us so they would know, hey, we're here, we exist. So.
And all the teams did something. As you can see by her arm, this is just a cute. They will admit it was going down both arms, all these wristbands from all the teams everywhere. So, go ahead.
Hello, I'm Liliana Chavez. I am part of the Junior RTC program here in Lorain High. My experience was everything I could have asked for, going down to Dallas. It being my first year in robotics too, it was absolutely amazing. This really struck out a new passion in me. This will definitely I will be doing this like every single year now. But, going out and making it to semifinals, I don't know about anybody else, but that brought us all to tears, like happy tears. We were also joyful, But just making it to semifinals and, almost getting there, it really put a strong hold on everybody in my team. And I'm very proud of everybody, I'm very proud of my coaches as well. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Josie. She did tell me, you should come join, and I did. And it's probably the best decision I've made. I'm just so grateful that I joined, It put a lot on me.
I'm Ilea Ayala. I'm a sophomore. In regards to Worlds, the whole season you have to do interviews and things like that. I think for us, we were so concerned on our performance because to get a second interview, you also have to do well with your robot. So tensions were definitely high there. However, we did end up getting a second interview. We were very proud of it. Our nerves were high the whole time. Our palms were sweaty, but we had so much fun. Our interview went well. We ended up getting the judges award. We had a lot of fun. It was amazing.
Hi, I'm Preston Lowther. I am a second year in the Lorain Titans robotics program, and I am a 9th grader. My experience down in Dallas was a little overwhelming at points because I was like shaking so much because I couldn't believe that I made it. when we found out on the bus ride back from Cincinnati, I believe, me and Alex were literally crying because we thought we weren't going to do it. But we did it at the last minute. It was a lot of fun. We got to, as Josie said, we got to meet people from everywhere: Asia, Hawaii, Europe. It was kind of insane.
I just have to give you a hint. This is our social butterfly of the team. Hey, y'all. She'll tell you how many friends she met.
Too many people. Hi, I'm Alex Caraballo. I'm 15. This is my first year in robotics. I'm nervous. I want to say my favorite part about Dallas was meeting a whole bunch of new people. I know everybody by name. Every time somebody walked past, I'm hey, you know. That's my favorite part. Oh, second favorite part. My other favorite part was going to medieval times. Yes, that was my favorite time. I want to say thank you to my coaches because honestly, I probably wouldn't be joining again because I got permission to join again. Yeah. Yeah, unless you're okay.
So we'll wrap up. The girls won the Judges Award, which is very hard to do. I mean, they're competing against 136 teams. The girls finished 20th in skill, 27th in skills, 20th in the competition. Aries, and they made it all the way to semifinals, which is very, very hard. I mean, like I said, those top bots were the ones that were competing all high school, that they were also there for the high school tournament too. And then Aries, they made it into the elimination round also. So we were ecstatic that our teams were showing that greatness, and they finished 37th. 37th in skills out of 136 teams. So that is really, really, really well, I mean, being the top. So like I said, I'm very proud of them. I hear Larkmore talk about family. They will all tell you I preach family in my team because we are together the longest, and half of them call me Miss Mom. So it was kind of funny when Lisa sent the little teacher appreciation, and it said Miss Mom. I said, oh, I bet they looked at that like, ooh, who do I send that to? So I'm very proud. Like I said, I'm proud of all of our coaches. I'm proud of everything. I'm proud of the middle schoolers ready to come up to the high school, and we continue the aspect of competing. All right. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed your little goodies and seeing what we have.
Very much so. And if you all can actually maybe stay up front, get your picture taken. And while you're getting ready, I just want to say thank you to our students and for our coaches for representing the city of Lorain and the school district so well and so consistently. When we talked earlier, and I'm getting the text on their way back after, yeah, I see you counting them over there.
Yeah, it's our 5th time to Worlds.
Yeah. And it's
second year with high school, second and first time in our second year. So we are.
So when we saw the success, my response was, I'm not at all surprised, incredibly impressed, but not at all surprised. We have great people doing great things, and I appreciate the traditions you've started. All right, so everybody come on up. Let's get our pictures taken. Moms and dads, come on up.
That's two. Dean? Yeah, get up in there. That's right. Dad, I'll take the picture. You go get up and
I guess. I'll make sure you have an angle. I'm not eating it.
since the beginning, so I know what you guys have done.
We're gonna be here for
A shadow pops up.
Hey, there's an emergency in the building, sorry.
Home.
Absolutely, thank you for all appreciate you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, now you're more than welcome to stay, but a little heads up, it gets pretty boring from here on out. So whatever you want to do is
Run.
Nothing's fun from us.
It's all good on our end.
Yeah.
I get it.
Everybody but Julie and Mary.
Yeah, that's about it. Everybody else is gone.
I'll make sure I get it. Thank you so much.
The dean?
Hey, where am I going?
Did Drew sneak out?
Stay to the first
Everything is, Drew's not here.
He was at the door when I came.
Yeah, he was making sure everything's ready.
They are again.
But we got all these cameras now. They're all set up and everything's covered remotely now.
Oh.
Yep, so now we can actually see people at the podium, see board members,
Beautiful.
see the audience,
They're gone, man.
Beautiful.
and just edit it, and Mike is,
This is such a nice setup compared to
It's too nice out.
the wasted
Yeah,
space
we love it. Well, we got one visitor.
Yep.
You or me?
I don't know.
Do you have your presentation, or is he putting it up? He's putting it up?
Yeah.
He's putting it up for you? Okay.
Thank you.
At least I think.
Huh?
At least I think.
We're gonna be in trouble for passing
That's amazing.
a diamond, a gem.
was that mine?
So that's that.
Benediction.
You know it.
Even the Dillons left?
We're now going to have an operations presentation once it pops up.
I thought Bill and Baby would stay.
I don't know those people.
Here it is. Go ahead.
Okay, good evening. That's awful being in this position following that, but I feel like the tornado in Allie's picture. Kind of ironic. Good evening, Tony Damacchia, as you all know. Here to talk a little bit about capital projects and our financial forecast looking over the next 5 years with maintaining our buildings. If you look at some of our buildings, and the one image on the left is maybe hard to see, but the bottom line is at one point in time we had brand new buildings in this district. Currently our youngest building is this one, which is about 8 years old, and our oldest is about 20 years old at this point in time. Back when we got the new buildings, we worked through the Ohio Schools Facilities Commission to get those buildings, but what they don't do, they don't give you the money to maintain them over years. And right now what we're dealing with is recognizing some concerns with our buildings with the age of them and having to repair, replace, and improve them. So I want to talk a little bit about some of our capital needs. And when we talk about our capital needs, and understand that the information that I'm going to talk about here, this is just what we know. And they are projections. These aren't hard numbers. They're is about as close as we can get to making assumptions on what the cost would be for some of these needs. HVAC being one of the major needs, our roofs and through walls being another. Obviously, transportation, maintaining our vehicles across the district. There are a slew of capital needs that need to happen over the course of the next 5 years, and breaking that down is what I kind of want to give you an idea of what we're faced with moving forward. So, looking at some of our parking lots, I got some images here of some of our buildings, and the image that you see on the right there is one of our buildings where we actually had to pin. And by pinning it, what we do is we pin the brick where we notice a structural issue where you see that crack, and we evaluate, assess, and measure it through that gauge that is in the middle of that pin, and it shows us how much that structure has shifted over time. And then the custodian there, or I think the custodian there will keep track of what that looks like over a period of time, and it gives us a better idea of what we might be dealing with and how concerning that structural issue might be. But on the left, you'll see some images of some of our sidewalks, the concrete work that we will need to do across our buildings throughout the entire district is pretty large. So as an operations department, we have to prioritize. So we look at some of these capital needs and look at what is top priority and what is most concerning versus what we can push off for next year, the year after, the year after that. But the images you see standing water, which indicates that we have some parking lot issues, which our process, what we do is we look at a 2-inch skim. So we go through that parking lot, skim off 2 inches, and then resurface it from there, as opposed to an entire replacement of that parking lot, which would be a significant cost change in that. When you look at a complete replacement versus doing this skim and trying to maintain them over years, we're saving a lot of money doing it this way. Not to mention, if you don't do this, you're going to end up having to replace the entire parking lot, which will be costly. Once we resurface, you look at the crack sealing and striping of our parking lots. Again, prioritizing which parking lots are most concerning right now. We are identifying a few of them and working on those numbers with some of the contractors to see what it would cost and putting those numbers together. But just as an example, General Johnny Wilson, I'm sure many of you have driven down the driveway behind it that connects the stadium parking lot with GJW, as well as that south parking lot. You'll notice how it's like speed bumps. That wasn't designed that way. That is an issue with the parking lot, in which that particular section we're not able to do the 2-inch skim because the damage is too significant to do that. So that area would have to be an entire replacement, which again is a little more costly than doing the 2-inch skim. The front parking lot, we're focusing on doing the skim and crack sealing and striping of that, as well as a couple other buildings. But what we're trying to do is rotate the buildings and look at them. They all need to be done at some point in time. But again, based on the year and those buildings and the parking lot's age is how we prioritize what needs to be done this year versus what will be done next year. Also, we're looking at some areas where concrete leveling will have to happen. What happens is that concrete shifts for whatever reason, depending on what they use to fill underneath that concrete when they laid it, versus the shift in the concrete over time. But you'll see that major crack right there. One area that we have identified is over at Frank Jacinto, where back by the dumpster, there's an area that is significant. So we'll have to get in there and level it up, raise it up, and correct that error because it can become a safety concern and a bigger issue moving forward. Again, identifying the structural issues throughout our buildings. Some more images, you see a crack, interior crack on the left there, which is concerning. Those are things that need to be repaired. It could be a slew of issues. Again, we only know what we know. Once you get into digging into what that concern is, you bring a contractor in to start the work, there could be deeper issues that we are not anticipating, and they're increasing the cost again with getting that work done. Example of that is recently, and we're still dealing with it, GJW, we had a chiller go out. Now, we went in to do routine maintenance. It was scheduled. We were prepared to go in, but once they got into there, they ran into some issues that they didn't anticipate and had to be a complete rebuild of that chiller, which is an issue, right? We had a day that the temperature was increased. Therefore, without a chiller or AC in that building, your interior is going to be significantly warmer in there, which could create a situation where, it could be unsafe for kids. We didn't reach that level in this particular instance. But those types of projects, and when you run into deeper issues, take longer to repair. They did get the repairs done on the chiller, but what they noticed after getting the repairs done was there was some leaking. So now they have to go back, look at that, assess that issue, repair that issue, and then watch, observe, and evaluate to make sure that the leaks are taken care of. But again, the time that they're doing that chiller is down and out of commission, and we have to work on it. But that's just an example of some deeper issues. Sidewalks, you see the cracks there. Again, standing water, that is Longfellow parking lot. Those types of things need to be repaired and improved, or else it's going to create deeper issues down the road. Again, looking at the capital expenses across 5 years, we considered a lot of different things, but there are items that, again, we try to consider everything, but we don't know what we don't know. But major issues in this particular or capital concerns, your HVAC repair and replacement through walls, which we're dealing with at Washington currently. We have an issue which I'll show you here in a minute, in a few slides, what we're dealing with there. We have two different kind of roofs on our design of our buildings. Again, when you build those buildings and you're getting state funding for the majority of them, you don't consider the design at that time. And right now we have a flat roof and a shingle roof on our buildings, which, you know, they have to be maintained, they have to be repaired, and sometimes replaced. We are looking at several leaking issues, and when we know there's an active leaking issue, those become priorities. We do not want our buildings leaking. And then some other things that we've considered in the capital expenses is the equipment. We still have to maintain our facilities. When you look at equipment, you're looking at costs for tow motors, you're looking at costs for mowers, you're looking at costs for overall equipment across this district to maintain the buildings and get the work done that our custodians do. And I will say that we have a great team of folks in the operations department across this district with our custodians and our cleaners that just do amazing work every day, and they try to stay on top of it. Do we run into concerns daily? Yeah, absolutely. But they try to maintain and get our buildings to make sure that they're a safe, quality facility for our education system. So again, just a shout out to those folks. They do an amazing job. Vehicles, again, no different. Right now we took transportation in-house, as you all know. We are saving significant costs in transportation in-house, but there are some upfront costs that we have to deal with. Looking at your bus replacement, repair, we've got two great mechanics, which is going to significantly save money in repairing our vehicles, mainly our buses. There were times where we didn't have a mechanic and we had to contract it out. I mean, you're talking thousands of dollars above what it would have cost us just to do it internally. So we're grateful for those two mechanics to be over there at the transportation center. But vehicles are also a major capital cost. Gymnasium floors, we're getting to that level where people have to understand that every year we clean our gym floors and we re-wax them. But as you do that buildup of wax creates a bigger problem down the road. For example, Lorain High Gym, it's 8 years of waxing that just builds up. So the cost becomes significantly higher. So having those gym floors on a rotation to where we're doing it on a regular basis to resurface them and re-wax them the right way has to be done eventually, and that's what we're dealing with right now. Right now we're looking at doing our middle schools and our high school floor, which you all are aware of that. But that is going to be happening this summer, which we have a slew of summer projects that will be going on, including some of the parking lot work that we need to have done. But again, all costs, right? We've been working with Tia and her team trying to figure out, what this is going to look like over the next 5 years. And we've come up with some numbers that, again, projections, and it's only what we know based on the numbers that we're given. And we have to also consider the inflationary increase that happens every year. COVID gave us a real good glimpse of that when costs of materials skyrocketed. Now, those costs have leveled, but they'll never go down to where they were, and that's what we have to deal with. So significant costs in materials are a big part of what we deal with in these estimates that we get for the work that needs to be done. So some of the work that we're looking at currently doing, again, we told you we prioritize the wall leaks that we have. First year priorities: Palm Elementary, Washington Elementary, Helen Steiner Rice, and Longfellow. The proposed cost for what we're doing, and again, this is not all the work that needs to be done. what we do is when we look at our buildings and look at the work that needs to be done, we prioritize based on its need. So, you know, again, example, Washington Elementary, we know that the through wall is failing, and it creates even bigger issues. And what happens is if your buildings leak, that water comes in, especially during the winter. If it leaks inside, gets inside that interior wall, freezes, it expands, and then creates bigger cracks down the road. Those are the things that we have to repair so that the leaks don't occur, so that we can try to avoid some of that cracking of our foundation and our structures. But looking at that first year priorities, your proposed cost is roughly $375,000. I will say this, that as remiss if I didn't mention, I am here representing Executive Director Mary Mays, who is here today. Again, Mary and I love working with Mary, and you know, we've been working with contractors and looking at what we need to do. In this particular instance, we had a contractor that we did some numbers, and this number was originally given to us for 3 buildings, which after evaluating the numbers and looking at them, Mary and I having some conversations, we're able to get a 4th building into that mix, doing the first year priorities for the same price. Again, these are just projections, right? And we're hoping that we can keep it at that or below that proposed cost. But once you get in there, you don't know what you're going to be dealing with. And here's some of the work that we're going to be looking at. Washington Elementary, I just want to show you some images of some of the active leaks. Go ahead and click on that one more time. So that yellow line is indicating those are the active leaks in Washington currently that need to be fixed. And that includes the through walls that we are working on and looking at. And I'll show you what that system kind of looks like so you have an idea of what we're dealing with. So here are the roof from this angle where you can see how our flat roofs are, and the through walls are actually up against those exterior walls that you see where the brick is currently located. Here's the system that we currently have, and what is happening is that through wall and the sealant behind that brick is failing to a level where that water is getting up behind that and creating some structural issues. So when we talk about repairing and improving our through walls, all of that brick and all that flashing has to come off. It's removed and then replaced in a way, and then the sealant in the 3 different locations that you see there is placed in there, and we create a better system and hopefully repairing that through wall so that the water doesn't get back under there. And again, there's no way of determining why they're failing. You know, you can speculate as to the design, you can speculate as to materials, but you just don't know. What we do know is it's failing, and this is one of our worst buildings at this current time. And the concern is some of our other buildings are the same design. So we may deal with that in the other buildings as well, and we may have to do some additional work, but time will tell. But all we can do is project, anticipate, and try to do the best we can. What we do know is this is one of the buildings that has a major issue, and that we are working on getting repaired currently, which is a top priority for us. Palm Elementary, you can see here, this is the active leak in Palm Elementary. Not as significant as Washington, but still significant enough that we have to prioritize and make sure we get done. Oh, you're good. Longfellow, the 2 sections you see there on the, what I would refer to as the east and west wall, I believe. You know, we're directionally challenged in Lorain, but yeah, the drive comes in is going north, though. I think, yeah, it's kind of image. So yeah, the active leaks that you see there, those are things that are prioritizing, and we have to get those repaired. So we are working on that as well at Longfellow. So here's the scope of work that we're looking at. You know, ultimately, 510 lineal feet that has to be fixed, removing that existing brick veneer and the through wall flashing, as I pointed out in the image earlier. installing new through-wall flashing, tying in the masonry, and making sure that it's watertight, which they will evaluate when they're done. The hydro shed sealer will be put in those 3 locations that I showed you in the earlier image, and thus fixing the leaking issue in those buildings that we currently know of. HVAC, again, we did a mechanical assessment on all of our units, and we are just focusing on what we know to be marginally in what is known as a marginal condition. So those marginal condition and poor condition needs to be top priority, and those we look at repair if we can. Try to avoid replacement, but that's unavoidable at times. So we will look at those units based on their age and the issues that we have, evaluate them, and repair them. But the way that mechanical assessment is broken down in the first 1 to 5 years, 5 to 10 years, and 10 to 15 years based on when that equipment was installed, how it's operating, and that assessment was done, and that's what we base our numbers off of, looking at how much it's going to cost to improve it. And we're looking at first-year priorities or the first 5-year priorities. So that number is where we're at. The proposed cost in your first year is looking at about $2 million, $2.4 million, which, when you look, I just wanted to put up some potential costs so you could see what the costs are to these particular units. But air handling units, there are 16 air handling units that are in marginal condition currently, and they range from $50,000 to $157,000 to replace if they go completely bad. Domestic water heaters, 3 of those units need to be replaced in the first year, and those are approximately $25,000 per unit. Boilers, a little more expensive. You're talking 2 units we're looking at that have about a $100,000 price tag to them. And then your chillers, which we just talked about the General Johnny Wilson issues and repairing it as opposed to replacing it, because those things cost about $500,000. The HVAC units are not cheap, and that's why when you look at the costs in our 5-year plan, you'll notice that the HVAC costs are pretty excessive, and there's a reason for it. So with that being said, again, there is additional information in this particular presentation. I did have a couple attachments, but I'm not going to go through them. But if you would like to see the assessment with all of our HVAC work, I can send that to you guys and share that with you, so you can see all the units that we have that we would be looking at over the next 15 years. But we just identified in the presentation that first year stuff that we would need to do. And then also the 5-year forecast is included, I believe, in the presentation that you guys have, which shows a lot of the costs that we have. With that being said, I don't know if, Mary, you have anything you want to add? No. Any questions, concerns, general comments? Yes, Mr. Sturgill?
How many people do we employ that are in the trades?
It's a really good question.
I mean, do we have anybody that does refrigeration repair, masonry, carpenter, electrician, plumber?
Yes, we actually do. We have 2 folks that are actually HVAC certified and trained. However, one I understand is looking at retiring this year, and the second one is having some health issues at this point in time. So we are looking for a replacement. And we also have folks that do carpentry work as well. We have a locksmith on hand. Most of our folks in maintenance are skilled trades individuals.
And I don't want to read into your question, but ideally, we would love to handle a lot of what we do internally, and having the right people on staff to help assist with that.
And we've had those conversations. We're looking for ways to be able to be competitive to get folks in. So
I mean,
we're on it.
Basically,
Yeah.
what you have is a little city here.
Yep.
And it's going to break down. You know, I mean, you have, I don't know, if I remember correctly, we have 18 air handlers in the high school. Does that sound about right? I mean, just that in itself, you know. Not to mention you have to change filters, you know, do that type of thing, but it almost, I mean, it seemed like at one time that they used to have, and I'm talking years ago, that they had like a little small maintenance department, you know, but then again, they didn't have all these new schools and different designs and, you know, and flat roofs.
And to your point, you know, we do have a small city here, right? And having just 2 folks on staff, their time is limited to what they can do, and that's why a lot of times we subcontract out to other companies to assess and evaluate and repair some of our equipment. But certainly, it would be cost effective to do it internally. And I'll go back to use the example because I've seen the invoices for one of the companies that we deal with that repair and maintain some of our vehicles. And I'm telling you, thousands of dollars just in one day for them to come over for a couple hours to repair some of our vehicles. And that's not happening now, but it was happening when we didn't have a mechanic. And just bringing those mechanics in to do the work in-house is just significant cost savings.
Yeah, I think I've actually worked with some of the companies that you have for like refrigeration in your chillers and stuff like that, but it can get out of hand real quick.
Yeah, you know, I mean, the additional cost to the GJW chiller over there in that 1 week was $15,000 in additional costs we didn't even know was coming because of what they ran into while trying to maintain it. So, and hopefully they get that issue fixed, but it's a real issue, a real concern.
Never laugh at a shop kid again.
Not at all.
And I just want to stress the point or the fact that this is not an issue of incompetence. It's not an issue of neglect. It's just what happens with buildings as they age, whether it's a school or a house. After a while, things start to go. And we're at that stage of the game where we can expect things going, and we need to maintain and sustain what we've got. If not, especially when you start talking about water damage and structural damage, if we don't get on it quickly, those costs increase exponentially. And Tia's going to go over a 5-year forecast, our 5-year forecast here in a second. And I just want to emphasize the fact that you'll notice that there are no levied funds for permanent improvement. So the money that we use to spend on these issues are monies that come out of the operating budget. And it's perfectly legal, but it's also, there are more efficient ways to handle it moving forward. So we'll discuss that a little bit later. But I just wanted to say one more point. Transportation was brought up, and I know that Mary is looking at a deep dive. I made a comment about how much money we'd save when we left First Student to go to do this on our own and what we should be charging. And we'll get to those numbers to demonstrate where we are in that process and when that money starts rolling in. So there was an investment, obviously, up front in the building and the buses. But I think you'll see that there is a significant savings there. So the decisions that we've been making are intended to be decisions to bring more things under our control so we can make sure that we're doing the right things and have the right people in place. And to Bill's point, we have been looking at increasing some of those specialists to make sure that, you know, for what they're charging us outside, we can hire our own. Again, and have a little bit more control over it. But I just want to thank Tony and Mary for putting all this together. It was actually put together to show us, as we're putting together the 5-year forecast, we have a better understanding of what to expect at all of our schools. So, and we've got some decisions to make here pretty soon about how to address that or how to react in a way that is consistent with what we can afford.
I do have 1 or 2 questions, though, from what we just went over. So our newest building is 8 years old, and ours is 20. But around 19, you see the separation, the bricks are cracking, and we're getting water inside. In our roofing, do we know what a typical school roof warranty is? Like at home, you get shingles, it's 35 years. In a school, what is it, 90 days? I mean, I'm trying to figure out that. Go ahead, please.
I can actually answer that question, but depending on the company you actually go with and what their warranty looks like, it can be 5 years.
The company that we're currently looking at is 10 to 15 years is what they're looking at for warranty time. There are some companies that can go with depending on the roofs that we have. Unfortunately, we don't have roofs because we have the roof, the flat roof, and then the shingled roof. About 15 is the most you can get out of that. It's typically with just a flat roof. You can get, some companies will be as much as 20, 25 years. But the roofs that we have don't allow for that.
So even with the 8-year-old building, if we can project down to year 19, some of the problems that started to happen, can we get a consultant in to kind of look now to see if the 8-year-old buildings are going to have the 19-year-old building problem and get the warranty kind of cooking on that sooner?
And we actually did that. We had a company come out and evaluate all of our roofs, and they gave us a 5-year forecast on what they look like and the issues that we're currently having. And that's what Mr. Delacqua was talking about, is they can, because they're all structured and were built pretty much the same way, you can pretty much expect that you're going to have those same issues with the buildings that are not as old as the ones that currently have issues with.
Right.
So yes, we think that we're going to have those same issues down there.
And that's the roofing issue, but the separation of the buildings and things like that. I mean, how do we kind of get ahead of that to prevent that, or at least get them on the hook to say, hey, this should be covered under you or whatever?
That's what we're trying to do now. If we take care of the issues that we have, so we didn't know that we were having these issues until we actually did the roofing projects. And then after we did the roofing projects, we still had water coming in. And so, everybody says, hey, the roof is still leaking, but then we realized that it was the through walls. So now that that's been identified, we can actually go in there and take some preventative measures so that we don't have the larger expenses of taking brick out and replacing the flashing and doing all of that work. Now we can take some preventative measures and those buildings that don't have those issues yet.
And I'm good with that, but we can't hook our contractors into taking some responsibility maybe on some of the things.
Yeah, I was just about to say, it's a little more complicated because our buildings were built through the OSF house facility.
They don't want to hold anybody responsible. They don't want to hold anyone responsible.
Yeah.
For the board meeting?
No, I'm looking for
And essentially, what we're currently doing based on that is trying to create that comprehensive maintenance plan for the district and trying to identify those types of concerns and issues, and looking at different options that would be the most efficient and cost-effective way to do things moving forward for the future.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
He did rival Ross in the slide category.
He might
Say
have.
nice job of that. Well, sincerely, thank you. I know how much it is to put all that together, to put things, put a plan together that is, and put your name on it. We know the target constantly changes because we find more things and prices are going up, but this, I think, paints a pretty clear picture on our immediate and very short-term needs that need to get addressed. If not, those numbers become, again, exponentially larger. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, first hearing of the public. The public is left. We need to approve the minutes from the April 29th special board meeting, and we are going to waive the right to read the minutes.
So moved.
Support.
Roll call?
Dr. Ballard.
Yes.
Mrs. Washington.
Yes.
Mrs. Nazario.
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson.
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill.
Yes.
Any old business? Reports and recommendation of the treasurer.
I have the district's 5-year forecast presentation. First, we'll take a look at a simplified version of the updated forecast. In this simplified version, it's showing the district's beginning cash balance for each year of the forecast, revenues, expenses, deficit spending status, and ending cash balance. Based on current revenue projections and spending plans, we will be deficit spending in our general fund by the end of next fiscal year 25. we will have a negative cash balance in fiscal year 26. Keep in mind that the forecast is a projection of the future, based on a snapshot of today. That snapshot, however, will be adjusted, and the further into the future the forecast extends, the more likely it is that the projections will change. A variety of events will ultimately impact the forecast, such as state budgets that are adopted every 2 years, changes in district strategic plans, the status of tax levies, changes in costs to operate the district, and grant funding and allowances from sources such as ESSER and title funds. With these factors in mind, our numbers will continue to fluctuate. Our forecast has the potential to look drastically different by the time we get to November. We are anticipating an increase to our total revenue in fiscal year 24, but a decrease throughout the rest of our forecast. The majority of our increase is due to the continuity of services dollars being accounted for in the all other financing sources section of the forecast. As mentioned in our November forecast, the continuity of services allowance within ESSER allows us to transfer money from ESSER to the general fund. As the district has been closing out the allocations for projects and initiatives funded by ESSER, we've been able to increase the continuity of services number from $17 million to $20 million since the November forecast. We'll revisit this more later on in the presentation. We are anticipating 3 major reasons for decreases in revenue over the life of the forecast. First, our unrestricted grants and aid is expected to be lower than forecasted in November. This is due to a decrease in enrollment since the fall. Additional decreases are being projected throughout the life of the forecast based on an analysis of our district's live birth data provided by the Ohio Department of Health. We are also expecting a decrease of our Disadvantaged Pupil Impact Aid, or DPIA funds. As more districts throughout the state are accessing the pool of funds provided by the DPIA funds, our portion decreases. The last decrease throughout the life of the forecast will be reflected in advances in. As stated in previous forecasts, this line captures any cash advances repaid back to the general fund from other funds. It correlates with the advances out, line 5.02, of the previous year. Advances out in 1 year are advances in during the next fiscal year. The general fund advances cash to funds such as federal grants at fiscal year end until that fund's cash request from the state catches up and returns those funds back to the general fund. Due to updated accounting procedures and guidelines provided by the Ohio Auditor of State's Office, the district will no longer have to carry such a large balance in this line. Something to also note in this section, based on feedback provided by the county auditor, the district's property values are expected to increase by an average of 30%. As our property values increase, our local share of revenue increases while our state share decreases. The district's property taxes are not proportional to the decrease in state aid. We are anticipating an increase to our expenditures throughout the life of the forecast. This is due to several factors. The first increase will be reflected in the personnel and benefit lines of the forecast. This is due to changes in staffing throughout the district. The next increase is due to the inflationary costs associated with educating our students. This is currently estimated at almost $2 million per year. The next increase is reflected in the operating transfers outline, which accounts for the $7 million transfer from the general fund to the permanent improvement fund for certain construction projects throughout the district. The last increase is due to currently accounting for the district's capital improvement projections. This is estimated to be about $5 million per year beginning in fiscal year 25. Next, we'll take a look at an update on ESSER spending. As a reminder, our district was eligible to receive a total of just under $58 million from 3 rounds of ESSER allocations. We do not anticipate additional federal funding. As stated in previous forecasts, ESSER funds were restrictive funds. Each dollar had to be approved by the state prior to its use, based on rules and guidelines set by the federal and state governments. ESSER funds were intended to help school districts safely reopen schools, measure and effectively address significant learning loss, and take other actions to mitigate the impact of COVID-19 on the students and families who depend on our K-12 schools. We also had to follow maintenance of effort and maintenance of equity guidelines when utilizing ESSER funds. This required us to spend at least the same amount or more of state and local general funds from year to year. If this didn't happen, a portion of Title, IDEA, and ESSER funds would have to be returned to the state. Our district used all of the ESSER 1 allocation to help us cover our losses in revenue, as well as pay for additional costs due to the pandemic. Examples of these costs included materials and postage for curriculum mailed to students during the shutdown, additional cleaning supplies and equipment, PPE such as masks, and technology for students and staff to be able to work and learn remotely. This portion of funding had to be used by September 2023. We used ESSER 2 to bridge the gaps between the original needs caused by the pandemic and the beginning stages of the plan to address continuity of academic and non-academic services. This portion of funding also had to be used by September 2023. For ESSER 3, our focus here is the continuity plan. This portion of funding must be used by September 2024. ESSER 2 and ESSER 3's allocation was about $54 million. Approximately $12 million was spent on staffing. This included elementary school counselors, wellness coaches, behavior specialists, additional fine arts teachers, class coverage, and additional substitute costs. Roughly $14 million was spent on instructional programs, services, and supplies. This included recovery learning programming, the arts expansion, after-school programming, Chromebooks and MacBooks, medical vans, and cleaning supplies and PPE. Approximately $8 million was spent on roofing projects throughout the district. We are able to transfer the remaining $20 million to the general fund. This is allowable under the ESSER category of other activities that are necessary to maintain the operation of and the continuity of services in the local education agency and continuing to employ existing staff of the local education agency. This $20 million will be used to reimburse the general fund for the salaries and benefits of staff who were employed during the 2021 school year when the district utilized remote learning during the pandemic. Our district has several construction projects in process. With board action, we will be transferring approximately $7 million from the general fund to the district's permanent improvement fund, which is modeled in this forecast. As a reminder, a permanent improvement fund, or PI fund, is used specifically for capital improvement projects, maintenance and repairs of school property, and certain equipment items that are designed to last 5 years or more. Our district's permanent improvement fund was established through board action in July of 2023. The projects that will be paid for from this transfer from the general fund to the PI fund are the Campana Park project, a facility for transportation, a safety mass communication system, and flexible seating at the high school. $2.2 million of the George Daniel Stadium Improvement Project will be paid for by LFI funds. LFI, or locally funded initiative funds, are the funds the district has remaining from the district-wide New Buildings Project. Within this project, our first buildings were completed in 2004, and the last building completed was Lorain High School in 2016. LFI funds must be used toward facility improvements beyond the scope of work that was funded by the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission. The closeout of the LFI funds are also transferred to the PI fund through board action. There are several items that were not included in this forecast that may be included in the November forecast. For example, We'll need to determine the cost of possible future projects. These projects include expansions at the high school, alternative school updates, and relocating the current administration building. Once costs are determined, we'll have to decide how to move forward and when. Next, we will also continue to review our ESSER spending to see if there are additional funds that we can transfer to the general fund. Lastly, we will continue to evaluate the quality and effectiveness of our programs and services, adjust the budget accordingly, review our current levies, and then determine when to ask our taxpayers for continuing and/or additional funds to support the district. The addition of any or all of these items could cause the numbers in the November forecast to significantly fluctuate. This concludes the May forecast presentation.
So again, when you see if I could just add on there real quick to Tia's comments, if you look at the 5-year forecast, you notice that in a very short period of time, we are in a rough financial situation. And if you go back a few years, we put a levy on right as I returned from my second tour. And what changed then was primarily it was increase in enrollment. We had 5,600 students, ended up with like 6,100 students in a short period of time. And with that comes extra state funds. Then ESSER kicked in and kind of carried us through. So we're not surprised to be in the situation we're in. Tia's been highlighting it now twice a year now, formally during the 5-year. I did the 5-year forecast every May and November, and we will be having recommendations soon on how to handle the next step with when and how to do a levy. There's one piece of information that I would feel more comfortable with, and it's on the auditor's website that I have confusion. In one section of the website, and Tia, jump in if I'm screwing this up, on one section of the auditor's website, it says that our bond issue rolls off in 23. In another section, it says it rolls off in 24. So that's a big deal. So and we want to make sure that whatever questions the folks at this table have or the folks in our community have, that we have accurate answers. So we'll be in touch with him tomorrow to get an answer in writing to make sure that we can clarify if there is confusion, what that confusion is, or if it's a typo, and then we can just deal with the typo. But our financial situation is real. It's the natural flow of a school district. Tia talked about the deficit spending. Again, ESSER and our increase in enrollment really saved us. Last time we had a new money levy that passed was 2012. Typically, school districts want to stretch it out for 5 years. And the way the process works is for the first 2.5 years, you bring in more money than you need, and it kind of goes in a savings account, for lack of a better word. And then for the next 3 years of levy, because whatever you pass, you cannot collect any more money than that. So if we pass a levy for $100,000, we can only collect $100,000. And then we take that money that we put in our savings to offset the cost, because every year things cost more. So at the second half of your levy, you dip into that savings, and eventually you run out. And that's the part of the process that we're in. So we are optimistic that we've been very engaging with our community. They've mentioned a lot of things they want to see in our schools, and we're doing them. But we also have to be respectful to our taxpayers. And Tia did mention that we brought in some things for ESSER, and those things that were specifically and illicitly chosen to help students recapture learning, and the mental health issues that went along with COVID, the technology demands that went along with COVID. And there were a lot of expenses that were COVID related, and now we have to take a nice long look to find out, did they work, and do they still have a purpose? So we'll be evaluating those over the course of the next 6 months, and we will share 5 months. We will share with the community what our plan is in terms of staffing and program support. What does work, what doesn't, and what can we afford and what can't we? And then we'll come up with a plan accordingly.
Thank you. I have items 8.01 through 8.09 for approval.
So moved.
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call. Mr. Sturgill.
Yes.
Dr. Ballard.
Yes.
Mrs. Nazario.
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson.
Yes.
Mrs. Washington.
Yes.
Our report's recommendation is to
Okay, just a couple things real quick. First of all, to all you moms out there, quick shout out. Mother's Day was yesterday. Ours didn't quite work out as planned, but we will celebrate at a later date. But 4 phenomenal mothers to my right. I've seen them all in action and hear them talk about their kids. And again, just very, very proud to sit at this table. And I also know the wives of everybody else, the husbands sitting at the table, and Morgan, Lori, and Sandra, and Megan and Andrea. Go home, hug, and celebrate your wives. They've earned it. I know the men at the table, they've earned it. So just, oh, Mary Jo, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, specifically.
Sorry, I'm out of order.
My first wife.
Yeah. Okay, so also another quick piece of advice or information. We had 45 students graduate from Lorain County Community College on Saturday morning with their associate's degrees. There are still high school students finishing up high school, but 45 of them are graduating with an associate's degree. That's just outstanding. We also have 115 graduating seniors who earned credits, college credits at LCCC, and 4,213 credits were earned. So that represents a savings to the families of $803,840 because the district pays for that. And which equates to a savings, and I'm not sure how they do the math on this one, but this is from LCCC, equates to a savings of $1.921 billion. That's, I got an extra comma there somewhere. It says $1.9 billion. So I'm going to guess there's a comma in there, so I'm going to withdraw that last statement. All right. But again, just want to give a quick shout out to our kids and the partnership we have with the community college. We have amazing programs within our schools, and our kids don't have to leave for those because of the amazing teachers and administrators that we have. So again, quick shout out. And I'd like the board to consider for approval items 9.01 to item 9.09, personnel matters.
So moved.
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Washington.
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill.
Yes.
Mrs. Nazario.
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson.
Yes.
Dr. Ballard.
Yes.
I'd like the board to consider for approval item 9.10, personnel matters.
So moved.
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Dr. Ballard.
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill.
Yes.
Mrs. Nazario.
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson.
Yes.
Mrs. Washington.
I have to abstain from this.
I'd like the board to consider for approval items 10.01 to 10.23, operations matters.
So moved.
You know what there, Jeff?
Support.
At the time of the year.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Dr. Ballard.
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill.
Yes.
Mrs. Nazario.
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson.
Yes.
Mrs. Washington.
No.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Do we have any new business to share? Committee reports. Second hearing of the public. Our next board meeting will be on Tuesday, May 28th, due to Monday, May 27th being a holiday. And we do not have an executive session tonight, so can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Support.
Roll call?
Dr. Ballard.
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill.
Yes.
Mrs. Nazario.
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson.
Yes.
Mrs. Washington.
Yes.